Why staying single is the best thing you can do. It's 11 p.m. The apartment is quiet. You glance at the empty side of the bed, and before you can even grab the blanket tighter, the thought creeps in. What's wrong with me? So you grab your phone, scroll. Everyone else seems to be winning engagement rings, anniversary posts, candlelit vacations. Meanwhile, you're reheating leftovers and arguing with yourself about whether to text someone you don't even like that much. Sound familiar? Most of us sprint from silence like it's a burning house. But here's the twist the Stoics discovered 2,000 years ago. That silence you keep running from, it's not punishment, it's the forge. It's where you stop being half of someone else's story and start becoming the whole damn book. Tonight, I'll show you why staying single isn't failure. It's freedom, and if you stay with me, you'll walk away with a Stoic playbook that turns solitude into strength and makes you unshakable whether love finds you tomorrow or 10 years from now. Section 1. The story we've been sold. Open Instagram at 2 a.m. and what do you see? A parade of curated perfection, sunset proposals on beaches, champagne toasts with forever love, gender reveal cupcakes carefully staged for maximum likes. The quiet message underneath all those pictures screams loud. If no one's posting you, maybe something's wrong with you. And it's not just social media. Family dinners bring the same script. Someone asks, "So, seeing anyone yet?" in that half-curious, half-judging tone. Movies end with the kiss, never the character sitting happily alone on a balcony. Culture whispers one idea, again and again. Single means broken, attached means whole. But here's the Stoic twist. The Romans heard the same noise centuries ago. Wedding processions through crowded streets, public banquets where your worth was measured by your company, family pressure that could crush even the strongest shoulders. And what did the Stoics say? They didn't shout back. They asked a quieter, more dangerous question. What if I'm already the finished puzzle? Think about that. What if singlehood isn't a gap to fill, but a mirror forcing you to look your whole self in the eye, without the distractions, without the applause, without the borrowed identity of someone else's affection? That's the fear, isn't it? It's not the quiet apartment that rattles you. It's the possibility that the quiet is showing you who you really are. And the Stoics believed that facing that truth is the first step to becoming unshakable. Because when you stop outsourcing your value to someone else's presence, the rest of your life suddenly gets louder in the best way. Now the question becomes, if the story we've been sold is false, how do we start seeing singlehood with new eyes? That's where Stoicism hands us the lens. Section 2. A new lens. Here's the truth the Stoics hammered home. The only thing you truly own is your mind. Everything else, your health, your paycheck, your reputation, even your relationships, is borrowed from fortune. It can be given, and it can be taken, often without warning. Now, at first, that sounds cold, maybe even depressing, but test it for yourself. Anchor your worth in whether someone texts you back, and suddenly a 3-hour delay feels like rejection, a read receipt feels like betrayal. Anchor your worth in your own virtue, in the way you carry yourself, the values you live by, and suddenly the ground feels like granite under your feet. Marcus Aurelius, writing from a war tent with frost biting through the canvas, called the soul its own quiet retreat. He wasn't talking about hiding from life. He was talking about building a sanctuary inside yourself that no rejection, no ghosting, no social expectation can breach. That's the new lens. Solitude isn't the absence of connection, it's the full volume connection with yourself. Singlehood isn't exile. It's a forge, a workshop, where you stop being half of someone else's story and start becoming a sovereign whole. And once you begin to see it that way, the next question naturally follows. How do you use this forge? How do you turn the raw metal of singlehood into steel? That's where the Stoics gave us tools, 5 daily practices that transform solitude into strength. Section 3. 5 Stoic tools that turn singlehood into a superpower. The Stoics didn't just preach resilience, they built drills for it. Habits so simple you can test them today, yet so powerful they rewired entire lives. Here are 5 that take singlehood, the quiet nights, the unshared holidays, the empty calendar, and turn them into raw training grounds. Tool 1. Negative visualization. Premeditatio malorum. Morning ritual. Ask yourself, what if no one texts me today? Don't flinch. Feel the pinch of it. Breathe through it. Watch the fear shrink. Practical drill. After brushing your teeth, set a 3-minute timer. Close your eyes and imagine the evening ahead. No notifications, no invites, just you. Notice the tension rising. Then exhale the storyline that you're missing out. Do this for 2 weeks and watch what happens. Dread turns to neutral, neutral turns to fertile ground. Silence becomes a space you know how to handle, sometimes even a space you crave. The next time the phone stays dark, your mind shrugs. Been here, handled it. Panic loses its monopoly. Tool 2. Voluntary discomfort. Epictetus told his students, practice having nothing. Not because poverty is noble, but because freedom is. Once a week, drop 1 comfort. Skip Netflix, say no to takeout, delete the dating app for a day. Start small, go 24 hours without social media. You'll feel the itch, the impulse to check, the twitch in your thumb. Call it what the Stoics called it, just an impression. Let it pass. Every time you endure that itch without giving in, you cast a vote for a new identity. I'm enough on my own. And the next time life takes something away, love, money, security, you'll already know the truth. You can still stand. Voluntary discomfort is proof that solitude doesn't break you, it builds you. Tool 3. Dichotomy of control. Every day, traffic, weather, other people's moods remind us how little we control. The Stoic response? Split the world in 2. What's mine? What's not? Then, act accordingly. Applied to dating, it's liberation. You control your effort, your standards, your honesty. You do not control whether someone replies, commits, or drifts. Journal it in 3 columns. Worry, label, mine, not mine. Action act, accept, ignore. The more often you practice, the fatter your not mine column becomes. And with every release, anxiety starves. Instead of rereading texts and gaming out, should I message again? You put it in not mine and reclaim your peace. That's discipline. That's sovereignty. Tool 4. The inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius spoke of a fortress inside the mind, a citadel. No gossip, no rejection, no loneliness could breach. Building it requires daily brickwork. Choose 1 virtue each month: courage, temperance, justice, wisdom, and grind it like a blade. 30 days of courage might mean, say the hard truth instead of softening to be liked. Return the extra change. Tell a friend no when you can't be their 1 a.m. therapist. Every honest act adds another brick. Over time, the walls thicken. The world still knocks, but it no longer enters. Singlehood is the uninterrupted workshop for this citadel. No constant negotiations, no diluted focus, just space to build. Tool 5. Amor fati. Love your fate. Nietzsche later put Stoicism in 1 phrase: amor fati, love your fate, not tolerate it, love it. The ghosting, the empty Saturday, the solo wedding, invite all raw material. Try this ritual. Each night, journal 3 lines. What happened? What did I learn? How is this for me? At first, the answers feel forced. Over time, they become reflex. A cancelled date becomes time for the gym. A quiet Sunday becomes an oil change for the soul. Silence stops being a waiting room and becomes a cathedral. And here's the hidden twist. When you stop fighting your life, you start owning it. With these 5 tools in your pocket, singlehood stops feeling like exile. It becomes training ground. But tools only matter if you can wield them where life actually hurts. That's why we need to test them in real-world scenarios. The group dinner, the wedding invite, the too quiet Sunday. That's where your new discipline is forged. Section 4. Real-world scenarios. Tools are only as good as the moments you use them, and the hardest moments aren't the big life crises, they're the little social landmines. Let's land Stoicism right where it hurts. Scenario A. The group dinner. Everyone shows up with a partner. You show up with stories. The waiter pulls out the extra chair. People give you that sympathetic head tilt. And for a second, the silence feels deafening. Run the Stoic drill. Negative visualization. I may sit here alone, and that's okay. Suddenly, the sting softens. Instead of scanning for pity, you steer the conversation. Hey, here are the books I loved this year. And watch what happens. Curiosity about your own mind is magnetic. Someone leans in, asking for recommendations. The table shifts. You're no longer the single one. You're the most interesting voice in the room. The citadel stands. Scenario B. The wedding invite. The card arrives, +1 optional. The old script kicks in, scramble for a date, anyone, just so you don't look tragic. The Stoic script, show up as you. Book the budget flight at dawn, voluntary discomfort in action. Sit through the ceremony without scanning the room for your partner's mood. At the reception, dance with the ring bearer, laugh at the best man's speech. Let yourself enjoy without needing someone on your arm to validate it. This is amor fati in formal wear, loving your fate exactly as it is. People notice, not because you're attached, but because you're free. Scenario C. The quiet Sunday. The apartment is too quiet, the mind too loud. First urge, open the apps, swipe, scroll, fill the silence. Second urge, sit, choose the second. Journal the thought, I should be with someone right now. Label it, not mine. Action, ignore. Then open Seneca's letters. 10 minutes later, you realize something strange. The silence isn't suffocating anymore. It's steady. That's the alchemy. When you stop treating solitude like an enemy, it becomes your ally. Sunday stops being a void and becomes a reset. And here's the bigger payoff. Once you can carry yourself through these small, awkward moments, you unlock something rare, the kind of freedom no one can take from you. And that's exactly what the Stoics called the highest good. Which brings us to the equation that flips the whole story on its head. Section 5. The freedom equation. Here's a formula the Stoics lived by, even if they never wrote it down. Freedom, options, ego. Think about it. Relationships born from need enlarge the ego. Every argument feels like death because your identity is mortgaged to someone else's approval. If they leave, you collapse. But relationships born from abundance shrink the ego. You don't cling because you don't have to. You can walk away, which means you can actually stay. You show up fully, not as half a person desperate for completion, but as a whole person offering presence. And here's the paradox. The Stoic who loves solitude is the one most capable of rich connection. Because when you're no longer enslaved by the fear of being alone, love becomes a gift, not a grab. Picture this 3 years from now. You wake early, lift, journal, head to work. You invite friends for dinner without vetting their guest list. You travel solo, striking up conversations because you're unbothered by perception. And one day someone meets you in that wide, steady space. You don't see them as the missing piece. You see them as a collaborator. If it lasts, the union is strong because two sovereign humans can stand side by side without toppling. And if it ends, the citadel remains. That's the freedom equation in motion. But there's still one more lie to burn down the myth that you're incomplete until you find the one. That's where we're headed next. Section 6. The myth of incompleteness. From childhood, the story is whispered into us. You are half a person, searching for your other half. Movies end with the kiss, not with the character thriving alone on a Tuesday morning. Songs worship the one who completes you. Even family advice often disguises dependence as devotion. But the Stoics would laugh at this myth. Epictetus said it plainly: if your peace depends on others, you are not free. If you need someone else to feel whole, you've handed over your sovereignty. You are not half of anything. You are already complete. The work is not finding someone to finish you. It's finding the courage to live as a whole human being. When you do that, connection becomes collaboration, not completion. This shift changes everything. Instead of shrinking yourself to fit another's mold, you stand tall and invite those who can walk beside you. Instead of fearing rejection, you trust your citadel. Instead of clinging to the one, you recognize that the only one you truly can't live without is the self you're building every day. And here's the hard truth the Stoics knew. Losing yourself doesn't happen in one dramatic collapse. It happens in tiny concessions, one after another, until your identity fades. Which means the next step is learning how to stop that slow disappearance before it steals your life. Section 7. The slow disappearance and how to stop it. Losing yourself rarely comes with alarms or sirens. It doesn't happen in a single dramatic scene. It happens drip by drip, tiny concessions that seem harmless in the moment. You soften your opinion to avoid an argument. You shelve a dream because it doesn't fit someone else's plan. You rehearse every line in your head before speaking, just to keep the peace. None of these moments seem catastrophic alone, but stack them up, and one day you wake up wondering, where did I go? The Stoics drew a sharp line here. There's a difference between adapting and erasing. Adapting is flexibility, virtue in action. Erasing is surrender, handing your identity to someone else piece by piece. So how do you stop the slow disappearance? With boundaries and with practice. Start small. Tell one inconvenient truth each day. Say, I can't make it tonight, instead of inventing an excuse. Admit when you disagree, even if it feels uncomfortable. Each moment of honesty is like hammering a new support beam into your citadel. Because freedom requires edges. Without them, you're clay molded by other people's hands. With them, you're stone shaped by choice, not by pressure. And once you reclaim those edges, you can tackle the next challenge, choosing between belonging and sovereignty. That decision defines whether you live by your values or by someone else's script. Section 8. Belonging versus sovereignty. Belonging feels safe, it feels warm, but if the cost of acceptance is constant self-editing, that's not connection, it's control. The Stoics knew the danger of chasing the crowd. Marcus Aurelius warned against trading your integrity for applause. If you bend every time just to be included, you're not part of a group, you're a hostage. Sovereignty means this: the right to think, speak, and live from your own center. It doesn't mean isolation, it doesn't mean arrogance, it means showing up whole, not halved. And here's the paradox: the more you honor your sovereignty, the deeper your belonging becomes. Because the sweetest companionship isn't built on shrinking yourself to fit. It's built on standing tall and finding people who respect your full size. So the next time you feel the pull to conform just to belong, ask the Stoic question: am I trading freedom for comfort? If the answer is yes, you already know the cost is too high. And when you stop bartering pieces of yourself for shallow belonging, something remarkable happens. You create space for your best work, your best ideas, your truest self. Which brings us to the next truth. Solitude isn't just a forge for strength, it's a lab for creativity. Section 9. The creative edge of being alone. Crowded rooms are terrible laboratories. When every move is watched, when every word is measured, your ideas shrink to fit the audience. But in solitude, the stage is yours. The Stoics understood this. They wrote, reflected, and sharpened their philosophy in quiet, not at banquets, not in parades. Why? Because without the constant lens of others, you stop performing and start creating. Think about your own life. How many times have you silenced a thought because you wondered what someone else might think? Now imagine sitting alone with no judgment in the room. Suddenly the thought grows legs. It runs, it experiments, it fails, and in that failure, it sharpens. This is the hidden gift of singlehood. Flow finds you more often. Work carries your real signature, less polish, more soul. You're not crafting for likes, you're crafting for truth. Protect that space, guard it like a temple, because when the noise dies down, your most original life begins to emerge. And here's the other bonus. Solitude doesn't just clear creative space, it detoxes your emotions too, clearing out static you didn't even know you were carrying. Section 10. Emotional detox. When you step out of constant emotional exchange, something surprising happens. The static clears. You realize how much of your mental weight wasn't even yours. Irritation that belonged to your partner, anxiety borrowed from a friend, guilt absorbed from family expectations. When you're always plugged into others, their storms bleed into your forecast. Solitude resets the weather. Your nervous system stops bracing for someone else's mood. You stop scanning the room, waiting for the sigh, the silence, the cold shoulder. Instead, you sit in your own climate, steady, clear, breathable. The Stoics prized this independence, not because they wanted to feel nothing, but because they wanted to feel clean. Emotional independence isn't cold, it's clarity. It means you can care deeply without being carried away. You can support someone without drowning in their tide. And once you've tasted that clean calm, you see the world differently, but not everyone will understand. In fact, your independence will often get mislabeled, and that's the next obstacle to prepare for. Section 11. When independence gets mislabeled. Here's the irony. The stronger you get in solitude, the more people project their fears onto you. They'll call it lonely because they can't imagine fulfillment without constant company. They'll call it selfish because you choose your own path over easy conformity. They'll call it incomplete because their definition of complete requires an audience. But here's the translation. Your freedom makes their script look optional, and that threatens the comfort they cling to. The Stoics never chased validation. Epictetus was mocked for living simply. Marcus was criticized for his restraint. Seneca accused of coldness. Yet history remembers their strength, not their critics. So when your independence gets mislabeled, don't flinch. Don't explain it away. Remember, they're not describing you, they're describing the limits of their own imagination. And that leads to the next truth. Sovereignty isn't free. It costs something. But once you understand the price and why it's worth paying you, stop hesitating. Section 12. The price of sovereignty and why it's worth it. Sovereignty sounds glamorous, freedom, strength, self-mastery. But the truth is, it comes with a bill. You give up automatic affection. You give up built-in plans. You give up the easy alibis that come with we. On certain nights, the weight of being fully responsible for yourself feels heavier than you expected. No one else to blame, no one else to distract, just you and the silence. But here's the exchange. In return, you get a life unmistakably yours. Your mornings, your energy, your priorities, all back under your command. You stop paying rent in someone else's story, and the longer you hold this ground, the harder it is to trade it away for comfort, because comfort can seduce, but sovereignty satisfies. The Stoics would argue it's the only wealth that can't be stolen. Not fortune, not status, not even companionship, just the freedom of owning your own mind. And if you stay in that freedom long enough, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing solitude altogether, and you discover the unshakable self. Section 13. The unshakable self. Stay with solitude long enough, and something shifts. At first, you're restless, reaching for distractions, craving validation, itching for someone to fill the silence. But over time, the silence stops being hostile. It becomes a companion. You stop rushing to fill every gap in the day. You learn to steady yourself without borrowed reassurance. You laugh more often because joy no longer depends on someone else's approval. It's quieter, yes, but it's also more durable. This is the moment the Stoics were pointing to, when the citadel inside you is real. Loss can still hurt, but it doesn't hollow you out. Loneliness still visits, but it doesn't linger. Why? Because you've proven to yourself that you can stand alone. And here's the paradox. Once you've built this unshakable self, you're finally ready for love. Not the desperate, grasping kind, not the complete me kind, but the kind that comes from abundance. You don't need them to be whole, you want them to walk beside you. That's the kind of love that lasts. Two sovereigns, side by side, not leaning, not toppling, standing. And that brings us to the closing invitation, the choice you face every single morning. Section 14. Closing invitation. You've been told that staying single is a phase to survive, a holding pattern until the real story begins. But the Stoics flip that script. They tell you it's not a waiting room, it's a forge. The place where you stop searching for your missing half and start discovering your whole self. So here's the choice that greets you every morning. Keep fleeing the silence, or build a life so solid the silence applauds you. Because that silence isn't proof of emptiness, it's proof of possibility. It's the doorway to discipline, creativity, sovereignty, and strength. And once you've walked through it, no one can take it from you. Pick one Stoic habit, just one. Try it for 7 days. Journal the dichotomy of control, practice voluntary discomfort, or write down 3 sentences of amor fati before bed. Then come back and tell me how it shifted you. If this message landed, hit like so the algorithm passes it to the next restless soul awake at 2 a.m. Subscribe and join me each week. We're building an island of calm together. And drop 3 words in the comments. I choose sovereignty. Write it, own it, live it. Because the fortress is already inside you, the hammer is in your hand, and the time to start building, the time to claim your freedom is now.